What's up everyone, Software Dev Jason here. So this video is going to be about replacing the stock clutch in the CRF250L with an aftermarket clutch, I believe, which is originally designed as a replacement for the stock clutch in the CBR250R. You know, it's the same engine, so it fits in there fine. And the reason I'm replacing it is not because the one that was in there was worn out. It actually looked in really good shape as far as the friction plates go, but I've complained about this this bike's clutch for quite some time, and it just always felt really weird to me. It always felt like it was just kind of slipping. It wasn't really grabbing like my dirt bikes do, and so I just always felt it wasn't right. So I did a little bit more research into it, and a lot of people are attributing that poor clutch feeling to the Judder spring system that they have in this 250L. So there's a little kit you can buy, or you can kind of source together the parts to do it yourself. You don't have to buy it as a kit, but I bought the kit from CRF's only, and I'll put a link to the individual parts on Amazon if you want to just buy them individually. But yeah, basically it's an EBC replacement clutch friction plate set. Part number is CK1313. I think this is a replacement. Originally, it's supposed to be for the 250R, but like I said, it fits perfectly fine. It's a heavy-duty clutch plate set. I'm also replacing the stock springs with Barnet heavy-duty springs, and I believe I've read online there's something like 50% stiffer than the stock springs, which is going to change your clutch pull a little bit. It's going to stiffen that up a little bit, but maybe just feel a little better to me. But the part number for the Barnet springs is 501-45-05050, and that's basically all you really change out when you do this modification. You may want to go ahead and order the right side crankcase cover gasket for the clutch cover, because if you've never taken the clutch cover off before, you know, the stock ones are usually glued on there pretty good, so you're probably not going to be able to salvage it unless it comes off stuck to one side and it doesn't tear. Mine gets it doesn't come off very clean, so I had to order the gasket just in case, and I ended up needing it. So you may want to order that just so you're not out of commission, you know, if that happens. So what I'm showing in the video at some point, I don't know how this audio is going to line up, but I also had I got a the front sprocket Zeta guard replacement thing there, so unrelated to the clutch, but I think I'm showing it in the video. Anyway, the clutch plates in this video had been soaking for about 9 hours, so yeah, they were ready to go in. All right, let's get started. Alright, so next step, take the skid plate off if you have one on there, and go ahead and start draining the oil. Alright, next step, we're going to drain the coolant, and on the 250L, that's accomplished by removing this bolt here. God, that's tight. So that's something else you should expect from this bike if you have it, is that everything on this bike is torqued down from the factory. If it's something that's been taken apart before, then you're not going to have many problems. But if it's a bolt that hasn't been cracked open before, man, Honda, they tighten down these things like crazy. Alright, so the coolant's drained, or at least 95% of it's drained. As well as the oil, so you may want to tilt the bike back and forth a few times to get as much of it out as you can. But since I'm going to be putting the bike up on the stand, or I might be, or at least I don't want stuff just leaking out everywhere until at least I pull the cover off, I'm going to go ahead and temporarily put the drain bolt back in for just a second, as well as the bolt here, and then we'll proceed with taking the side off. Alright, so next step is we're going to remove this water pipe right here. So that's going to be two 8mm bolts, and again, don't be surprised if these aren't a little tighter than you would expect. And there's one more right up here. Okay, next step is this frame guard right here. Back to the water pipes for a second. There's 2 O-rings on the back of those. So if you're not going to replace them, then try not to lose them. Or yeah, try not to lose them. Alright, so the next thing, we're going to try to take off this brake pedal here. So this is the spring for the brake light. So we're going to see if we can't get that thing to pull down here. There we go. There's that off there. We have a brake pedal return spring here. So I guess pick your poison, which side you want to pull that off of. This doesn't matter really. Use some bigger pliers here. Alright, so the next step is there's a cotter pin back here behind this pedal, and I was not expecting it to just pull out. Anyway, I wasn't expecting it to pull out, but it pulled right out, which is pretty nice because I'll be able to slide that back on. Alright, so there's another little cotter pin joker hiding back here. There it is. There's a little cotter pin right there too. That's not yeah, that's going to replace that probably. Alright, so got the cotter pin out there. Alright, so there's a little joint here, I think comes out. Yeah, just like that. Alright, the back side of this has a washer. There we go. Alright, so the brake pedal's off. So you just want to keep track of, make sure you don't lose the dust seals. There's like a rubber dust seal on this side, and there's rubber dust seal on that side. There's a washer on this back side. And so when this goes back on, you want to clean this out pretty good. You want to grease that brake pedal, and you'll want to apply a little bit of grease to around the edges of those dust seals so that it creates a nice seal there and it works smoothly. Alright, so next thing is this it's a guide for the clutch cable here. Now I think we can try to disengage this clutch cable here. There we go. And since we got that off, we can just kind of set this to the side. For now. We gotta take this off. Yep. Let me take that off real quick. Okay. So now we're going to loosen the cover bolts, I believe. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get to that one. I might have to take this bracket off or something. Alright, so this is like a little bracket that holds that brake line return in, or that brake light sensor thing in. So you can probably do this without removing it, but it's kind of hard to get to there, so I went ahead and took that off. I'm going to do this kind of a crisscross pattern. So all the side cover bolts are out. Check out that work of art right there. Alright, so I just kind of pulled this just gently and it popped, so the seal broke. Now you'll want to turn this lifter arm while you pull, I believe. Oh, and that's why you have shop towels down below. There's some gasket material left on this surface right here, this mating surface, and that's gonna have to come off, especially on the side case itself. It's stuck on there really good, so we're gonna remove this dowel rod right here to make it easier to clean. And there's one over here too. The one on the left hand side is a solid little dowel. This scraper is actually meant for this specific task right here. Any scraper will probably do. This is a Tecton, I think. Combination of that and a gasket remover from CRC. So that's probably going to be the easiest way to get that off. The gasket remover, the razor blade will get the big stuff. the gasket remover and the scraper will get all of it off. Something else to keep an eye on so that you don't lose them. There's a collar here. There's a collar here. Both of those collars are removable, and both of those collars have O-rings around them. So, yeah, make sure that those O-rings don't fall out. We're gonna buzz these guys off right here. It's okay, but this is Pilates. Leggings or performance top, go to Old Navy. Their activewear makes you look and feel fantastic. So the clutch springs are underneath here, obviously. See how much you could save. This plate that's just sitting on top here should come right off, I think.
Dear pesky blackheads, you disgust me. You're ugly, dirty, and just plain nasty.
The clutch isn't worn out.
3 stages and over 40 artists, including Odessa, Major Lazer, Big Gigantic, Nas, Romeo, Porter Robinson, Carnage, Duke Dumont, Yellow Claw, ASAP Ferg, Sheriff, Tory Lanez, and many more.
What is that crap? What is that? I guess that's the whole Judder spring crap there. Judder spring and then spring seat. I guess it is sprung somewhat. It's not flat. It's not going back in, I know that much. Interesting. This is the old friction plates and the disc in there. The very last friction plate here is smaller for some reason. Alright, so put the very first friction plate in there. So I'm going to be putting these Barnet clutch springs in. Apparently they are something like 50% stronger than the stock ones. Now, I'm not torquing these things down. So there's this little screen that's down here. It's back behind the side cover here. Look at all this crap that was in that screen. Yeah, so I just looked in there with my light, and there's like a whole slew of trash and crap in there. It's all like it's like silicone or something. Our two dowels back in here. So the hollow one is on that side. And let me get my needle nose. And the solid peg is on this side over here. Alright, so now I'm going to take a shop rag, and I'm going to make one last pass along this mating surface here. I'm going to put a light coat of Bel Rey's waterproof grease, very, very light coat on around this mating surface here, and the only reason I'm doing that is to help the gasket not slide around once it's on here. Yeah, this looks close enough. See that waterproof grease, like on this side over here, it was already sticking really nicely, even when it wasn't on the dowel. Wasn't even on the dowel yet. And yeah, that looks looks nice. So only a couple little tricky things here on this part. I'm trying to put this side back on. Make sure the O-rings are still here. There should be one right here. Should be one right down there. So make sure those are still there. Those are kind of important. Or I assume they're important, or they wouldn't have put them there. The other thing is the water pump. So right down here, there's this little notch thing that's going to have to line up with that right there, or it's not going to go on. Well, that sounds good, right? Let me get my work of art back out here so we know where all these bolts go. Alright, so we're going to put this this little clutch line holder thing back into place. Here we're going to hook up the clutch line, the clutch cable. Alright. We're going to put the this little coolant or water pipe back on. Let's clean up the junk out of there real quick. So make sure you still have all your O-rings on there and whatnot. Just gotta pop right in place. There's nothing to it. Alright guys, my battery's dying, so we're gonna hook everything else back up the way it was, and maybe we'll give it a test run tomorrow. Everything goes back on the same way it came off. Nothing real important there as far as torque specs. Clean this up where the rear brake went. Grease that up. Make sure your dust seals are in there. Flush the coolant. Put new oil in it. Run it for about 500, 600 miles or so. And then go ahead and change that oil again if you can. Some people don't. That's okay. I'll probably do it after about 100 miles actually. So that's it. You know, after you get everything buttoned back up and you're ready to go, most likely you're going to have some issues with your clutch adjustment. So I just want to point out that, you know, this is your major adjustment right here. So you break off this lock nut here and you'll want to adjust that to get you in the ballpark, and then you can adjust with the minor adjustment right there. So I guess a rule of thumb, what everyone says, is that a few millimeters there, or enough to fit like a nickel in that gap. It's just whatever feels right for you. Yeah, that's the whole mod, guys. I'm pretty happy with it. For, you know, it's $80 or whatever it costs for the parts and stuff. To me, it's definitely worth it. It feels like it should now. The clutch issue may not be an issue for you if you just kind of gotten used to it. So one other thing, before I forget about it, you know, with the heavy duty springs, the clutch pull is definitely going to be a little bit harder. So I used to be able to pull this with one finger extremely easy. With those stiffer springs, it's not nearly as easy to do it now, but it's you'll get used to it pretty quickly. I've already put, you know, 50 miles or so on the bike since the other night, so I've already gotten used to it. No big deal there. So that's it. If you got any questions, guys, you can shoot me a comment below or a question, or yeah, go check out Thumper Talk, because those guys have all done, or a lot of those guys have done the same mod, and they will know most likely more than I do. So, thanks guys.